Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Dandadan Season 2, Episode 2. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, first and foremost, we're picking up where the last episode left off, and we finally get an explanation on what's going on with Ken and Momo. They're trying to kill themselves. Apparently, the earthworm, not the earthworm. What kind of worm was it? Whatever the case may be, because I'm pretty sure it's not an earthworm, or was it an earthworm? Was it a Moldovan? I don't remember now. Either way, the thing's releasing psychic waves to tell people to kill themselves. And we find out that's what happened to Gigi's parents. Because all we knew from last season was like they were hospitalized. But I did not know, like we saw Gigi found them. And he's the only reason why they're still alive is because he was able to cut them down beforehand. But you're like, Jesus. But now it's like, oh, so that's what happened to three of the five psychics. Because if I remember correctly, 3 to 5 psychics that came to deal with the situation at Gigi's place, 3 of them killed themselves. And now we know why. This thing has been doing that. And so it's interesting because I'm curious why Ken transformed. Because I guess maybe that's the easiest way to kill yourself is with his transformed state. Because, I mean, even later on when Momo's hands are bound, she tries to use her powers, so it makes sense. But, like, it seemed like Ken was literally, like, he grabs his mouth. He was literally trying to rip himself open, and he started bleeding, I think, from his mouth. You're like, oh, God. But luckily, Gigi was able to kind of overpower him. But then, like, when Momo was about to stab herself, luckily, Turbo Granny happened to be in the way, and I love she's like, oh, it felt like someone stabbed me. She's looking down and she's freaking out, and like the glass is stuck inside of Turbo Granny, but Momo's still trying to stab herself, so essentially she's kind of trying to stab herself with Turbo Granny. It's interesting later on because Momo brought up this point of like, shouldn't you be super lucky? And Turbo Granny's like, yeah, but my luck isn't bound to one particular person. Maybe all my luck is going to the enemy. And I guess maybe in that moment, Momo got a little bit of that luck with like, oh, I'm blocking you so you don't end up killing yourself. But yeah, Gigi's doing everything he can to keep them under control. But Gigi's asking a question like, yo, why aren't I doing it? And she's like, what, you haven't picked it up? And I was wondering, I'm like, is it because of the thing in his house? Like, is that with him? And jumping ahead a little bit, it turns out that is the case. Because that evil eye also causes people to kill themselves, is canceling out this thing's evil eye. It's an interesting reference I'm about to make. It's kind of a spoiler, but it is what it is. If you've ever played Dragon Quest VIII, the main protagonist of Dragon Quest VIII, it's a little bit of an interesting mechanic to his character. Every other side effect, poison, paralysis, whatever you need, whatever, all work on him except curses. Curses never work on him, and the reason the curse status effect never work on him because the curse he has on him, a plot-related in-game curse, prevents any other curse from stacking on top of it. So he's immune to curses because he's already cursed. So it's kind of that thing of, hey, this thing can't affect you because the evil eye is already canceling it out. So it's like, it's not telling you to kill yourself, but it's projecting a wave of, it's secretly buried under his subconscious, buried so deep no one, I think, could see it or sense it. Or maybe it's just been waiting in the house for him the entire time because that's when he first saw it when he was younger. So maybe, I'd assume it's got to be inside of him, buried deep within, because it chose then to come out. So it's probably been inside of him ever since he was like a kid or whatever. But either way, like I said, you got to give it up to Gigi, like going full MVP, literally getting glass stabbed in his hand and his arm just to prevent Momo from killing herself. Literally carrying Ken, Momo, and Turbo Granny in the mouth, and he's sprinting. And you're like, yo. Also, this episode showcases, because this is the first time, I didn't pay attention last episode, but some of those angles show like, yo, your boy Gigi is like hella ripped. He's in really good shape. You're like, oh, look at all the muscles and shit. And abs, you're like, Jesus Christ, dude. But yeah, he takes off running, but he trying to pick himself up like, yo, I gotta protect him. But then, like, before the worm can attack, Evil Eye shows up. And then you have Granny be like, yo, don't look at that thing. They're canceling each other out. You've got to run. And Ken, uses his opportunity to go, activate his power, go full throttle once, like a bullet. It hits, but this thing is kind of like the Hydra from Hercules. It just regenerates. I mean, granted, it doesn't go full Hydra where it's like multiple freaking heads, but it's just like, yeah, it regenerates. So that sucks. As they're running away, the evil eye is on top of Gigi and it shows its past. And here we go with the tragic stories. It's like, oh boy, it's going to be a slight, not repeat, but it's like, oh, bring on the sad storyline where it turns out, I'm assuming the boy with white hair is the first ever sacrifice that they had all those years ago. Because I feel like if there was others, you'd probably go a little further back. I don't know. Maybe he's not necessarily the first one. Feels like with the emotion and everything tied to it that he has to be the first one, but maybe not. But he was a kid that was locked up. You can see his lips are so dry because he's so like, they're not giving him water. He's not getting any nutrients. He's super malnourished. But all he can do is look outside, see all these kids have fun. They're dancing and he wants to have friends and play too. But no, he gets sacrificed. Oh, how does he get sacrificed? I guess that's how they sacrifice all the kids, but like they tied him to a stake essentially, and literally he got burned alive by lava. That is horrendous. He was alive when it happened, and then when it all retreated and stuff, you see his corpse and like you see like things picking at it because the kids and everybody are like, oh my god, he's still alive. I don't know if it's because the kids at that time could already see his ghost or whether it's because they saw the body moving, but really it's stuff picking at it. But the kid wakes up as a ghost. What's interesting though is only because at first we know like, well, his evil eye makes people kill themselves. So at first when the parents started killing themselves, I was like, oh, he's doing that. But then I was like, but then why are the kids still alive? That doesn't make any sense. Like the kids are obviously looking at him, but it's because it wasn't him, it was the worm killing the parents, because the worm enjoys the human sacrifice. It's like, oh, you guys want to sacrifice kids to me? Cool, I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna kill make the parents kill themselves, and then you're gonna sacrifice the kids to me. But it's also interesting that, like, and I guess it makes sense. Maybe anyone with any spiritual power could see him, so that's why Gigi, we'll get to that later, can see him. Why Momo can see him. Obviously, Ken's situation is because of Turbo Granny's powers, but only kids can naturally see this kid. And he was just there trying to play with the kids and try to be friends because he never had anyone. He was all alone and ostracized. And then that, like, we just see him over the years, like, you know, try to be friends with kids and just see their parents kill themselves. And then finally, like, he sees at one point in time the Keto family. It's not the same family. I mean, it's the same family, but, like, the head of the family is, you know, looks exactly like, oh my God, he's like, that's the woman that sacrificed me, who's the head of the charge. And what did they do? They buried the house, and then they, like, left the kid there. That's how they sacrificed this particular kid. It's like, oh, we tied you to a chair and left you there to just die of starvation or dehydration, whatever the case may be. You're like, that is disgusting and heartbreaking. And the thing is, like, the ghost kid can't even do anything. He's like, he wants to help him but can't. And so it becomes this thing where they, like, he's like, I've seen this too many times, and he gets consumed. And once again, it's like the acrobat at Silky, where it's like tragedy, you know, and unfairness in the world warps you into a yokai, turns you into a monster, you know? That you might have, like, been this innocent spirit, but left with enough time and left with just kind of your anger, you become a yokai. It's interesting because the way the evil eye looks now currently is like that boy that was tied to the chair. Like, it obviously looks like him, so I guess maybe that spirit of that white haired kid fused with the spirit of that kid, not unless he, like, I think it's like, or like fused with his anguish, or maybe his body, but like, because the body that was left there, like, there's white hair growing out of it, that's not his body, that's that black hair. But maybe all those, but it's like the hair shouldn't be growing, but maybe because his spirit's technically alive, the hair was left to grow. I don't know what to kind of make it, because it did seem like he fused with that kid's body or spirit to end up the way it looks currently. And Gigi's feeling sympathetic for this thing, even though Turbo Granny's like, yo, don't do that. This thing is, but Gigi's like, right, I'm going to take you back to your original body. And then he gets sucked in by the spirit. He sees the kid all alone. He's like, hey, I'll play with you. I'll stay with you as long as you need. And that's what that thing needed. It needed permission. And in that moment, it's like, good, you finally said it. And it hijacks Gigi's body. And in that moment, the worm is coming to devour him and Momo. And in that moment, like, this thing, the evil eye possesses Gigi and whoops the worm's ass. Punches it, then kicks it. once again, just the beautiful animation on the show, especially like just like the speed lines on his foot when he wound up that kick. But it isn't just the worm he's going after. He's going after Momo too, because for him, he's pissed at all humans, understandably, because for him, it's like, yo, like, humans did what they did to me, and not just me. So many were sacrificed. So for him, it's not just a keto family he has issues with, it's humanity in general. Even though, because I think it's probably a thing of so many other people let that happen. So many people sit on the sidelines and let the keto family do that because of the benefits of it, because of their beliefs, because of their fears. They let that allow the keto family to have done what they've done for generation after generation after generation. And to the point that the evil eye gathers up like the anguish and all the souls of all those who are wronged and dead, and basically forms them into a ball. And then this thing goes on basically a soccer ball spree as it's kicking around, and this thing is like bouncing, rebounding all over the place, like hitting and puncturing the worm, to the point this thing hides underground just to get away from him. But once again, he turns his attention towards Momo, because this thing's just going on a full-blown spree against any humans. So Momo's trying to defend herself, but this thing is fast. Like, she's able to block like the soccer ball kick, but then like he comes over and punches her. It's like, Jesus. Once again, even without her spiritual power defense-wise, like, yo, this thing is you gotta give it up to Momo for tanking some of those hits. I mean, it's just like that thing in episode 2, the sumo alien thing that was like punching her. Like, she tanked that, but maybe on some level, like, her spiritual powers give her some like durability in regards of like, it's like a continuous buff where it's like this thing just, her powers just naturally give her a buff. So she tanked, I mean, it's an anime, but also maybe on some level, like, it gives her more boost to her stats, so she can, like, have a lot more of a higher endurance. So maybe just Momo's always just been tough as nails in that capacity, which is a very strong possibility. But I did skip over the conversation about why Gigi, and I love Turbo Granny being like, well, your Psycho said it all the time, like, Gigi, you're a genius, you're a genius, you're a genius. I don't know if she meant it that way, but maybe on some level she did, but obviously that was a joke. But I love how they bring it back to make it like, no, like, this kid has serious, like, he's physically strong, but he also has like very strong spiritual strength as well. But Momo's like, wait, but he didn't as a kid. It's like, well, no, everyone comes to it in their time. I mean, you only recently came into your powers. It's been there. It just took the right circumstances to unlock it. Same thing for this guy. It's like, it's always been there, but Evil Eye now has full access to it. It's like the perfect vessel for this thing. He's been biding his time. That's why he revealed himself. Like, he's been going, like, probably been looking for a good vessel the entire time to really unleash its vengeance. Because there's probably only so much it can do in a regular body. It needs a body that can probably handle its energy, but also that it can, like, fully utilize. Like, no one else prior, any other person it's come across. Because Gigi's like the perfect person of, you're sympathetic and I was able to lure you in. Because there's truth to it, but there's still also like, it's covered in a layer of BS of, I'm trying to draw you in so I can possess your body. But yeah, this thing tried to go in for the kick. I was like, oh shit. But luckily, Ken shows up in time, transforming. He's like, yo, you punched Momo. Like, I'm not going to let that fly. And it's just like their legs slam together. And it's just like, hey, yo. It's going to be interesting to see. Because obviously, Ken's in that state. His legs are the most powerful thing, considering like the running speed. So it's going to be interesting to see leg versus leg. Like, who has it better. Because like, this thing's strong. Because, like, I'm trying to think, like, have we seen Ken actually punch in that state? I mean, we've seen him, like, bite off a finger or so of that sumo thing in episode 2, but most of it is like, yo, he rams into his opponent at lightning fast speed, at like a bullet. That's usually how he operates. So we've never seen him. I'm trying to think, have we seen him even just utilize his kicks that way? I mean, it helps that he's able to build up momentum to probably add more power to his kick, so... I mean, and Turbo Granny said it herself last season, like, Ken still hasn't even scratched the surface on her powers. So who knows what else he's going to discover in this duel. But this is what I've seen of the preview. Like, some of the thumbnails for like the trailer, one or two of the trailers shows this. And the moment I was looking at it, I was like, that looks like that's Gigi. So I was like, oh, so I guess that's going to be his circumstances. It's going to be interesting to see if this ends up being like a... an Ira's situation where she walked away with acrobatic Silky's abilities? Or are we going to find, or is like Gigi going to come into it like his own? Because once again, some of that power is already innately his. It's just Evil Eye's accessing it, plus adding his own spin to things. So will he maintain some of Evil Eye's abilities, or is it just going to be he's going to find his own strength? I'm curious to see what the long run of that's going to be, because that's so fascinating. Because my theory was going to be like Momo and Momo's circumstances. Well, sorry. That Gigi's circumstances will be closer to Momo's because we already have Ira mirroring Ken's circumstances. It's not a one-to-one, but you know that's what I thought was going to be the parallel. Momo is like, sorry, Ken is to Ira as Momo would be to Gigi. I thought that's where it would go, but if we're going to make it so that Gigi's circumstances are similar to Ken and Ira's, not less his ends up being like a middle ground between Momo, Ken, and Ira's circumstances. I don't know. I'm interested to see what the long run of it is, but I'm curious to see where this story plays out. Like, are we completely done with the Keto family because they did get gobbled by this worm? So, not less, like I said, they're full monsteroing this Pinocchio-wise, and they're still alive inside of it. That thing's gut. They might not have been digested yet. So, they might still need to be contended with after the fact. But how this whole Evil Eye situation gets resolved, I'm so curious to see how this all plays out going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.